The South African Communist Party has condemned the alleged sabotage at Eskom, which contributed to the spate of load shedding. On Wednesday, President Ramaphosa partly blamed sabotage as the cause of the ongoing load shedding. Briefing the media after its special Congress, SACP spokesperson Dr. Alex Mashilo said those behind the alleged sabotage must face the full might of the law.
The Special National Congress strongly condemned the sabotage at Eskom, which has led to our people being without electricity, and indeed some sessions of this very Special National Congress. The SACP identifies with the painful situation that our people are experiencing as a result of load shedding. The Special National Congress mandated the Central Committee to closely follow the investigation and ensure that the saboteurs are identified and held to account. The SACP calls upon the state to regulate mining and trade of coal in the interest of national energy security. At the same time, the Special National Congress called upon government to move more decisively in pursuing a just transition to cleaner and renewable energy. Eskom, in a turned-around form, must serve as the mainstay of reliable, cleaner, renewable, and affordable energy production in our country.
Well, Friday the 13th is considered an unlucky day among those who are superstitious. Well, tomorrow is Friday the 13th, but for South Africans, we'll be hoping for a bit of luck as Cabinet meets. The executive will discuss how government will procure funding for the extra 5,000 megawatt generation build project announced by President Ramaphosa yesterday. The country went through an unprecedented stage 6 load shedding this week, further sparking fears that the fourth quarter could plunge the country into a technical recession. Daily Maverick senior journalist Sikonathi Mantshantsha joins us via Skype. Sikonathi, good evening and welcome to The Full View. Your summation of the President's address to the nation via that press briefing.
That was, it was a very long meeting, but in the end, I think South Africans have a great opportunity to realize new investments coming as soon as the private sector can bring a generation infrastructure online. I hope the cabinet meeting will come out and say, and give a deadline, say we want 5,000 megawatts of installed capacity, be it renewable, base load and anything, floating energy by this date. Mm-hmm. So that would be the start of hopefully that this crisis is an opportunity to kickstart investments in big infrastructure projects.
And the President also mentioning during that press briefing that speaking to the management of Eskom, part of the engineers as well, is that they've said that there should also be self-procurement of electricity or self-generation of electricity as well. So do you think that when Cabinet sits down tomorrow that will be one of the factors that they would be looking into or should be looking into?
Look, the government really does not have a chance. It has to tackle this matter. It has to look at, it really has to license municipalities to buy power wherever they can get it. It really has to license companies to build their own power station and supply their own electrical needs. Sasol already does that. It supplies about 70% of its own electrical needs in South Africa. So there's absolutely no reason why the government should resist any attempt by the private sector to generate its own power. We have now seen over the past 10 years that Eskom is unable to supply industry with electricity. It is unable to supply the people of South Africa with electricity. It does need help. Mm-hmm. And this crisis is an opportunity exactly to solve that thing. You yourself, Adrian, can put a solar panel on your roof and connect it to the grid once you've filled up your own batteries and sell it back to Eskom, which will actually alleviate the crisis that the utility is having at the moment. So Cabinet really does not have a choice. This is a crisis that should not be wasted.
Yeah. Does the fiscus, though, have money available to wiggle around to ensure that this 5,000 megawatt new generation build is actually procured?
These 5,000 megawatts does not need to cost the government a cent. You put out a request for proposals and say who can build the cheapest amount of power and at the shortest possible time, license it on a build, own, and operate model, which just means the owner of that power station sells the electricity to Eskom or to the transmission company, and the Eskom only buys power that has been delivered.
Yeah.
It needs not cost the government a cent.
But does Eskom have the money, though?
You and I have the money. We're paying for electricity. No one is getting it.
Are we? Because Eskom has been complaining about municipalities not being able to pay. Look at 3 municipalities in the Free State, for instance, where Eskom said that there will be power rationing that will be taking place there because of these municipalities failing to pay Eskom what's due to it.
The truth of the matter is about 60% of municipalities are not paying for their electricity. There is a matter between Eskom and its customers, the municipalities. Surely, if you did not pay for your power, Eskom is able to switch you off. Why can't it do it for the municipalities? This is just political posturing.
Yeah.
It should not be used to delay progress and development for the country. Nobody gets electricity for free except the allocated amount that is given to the indigent, where the first portion. So that should be sufficient for the people who cannot be able to afford electricity. But for you and I, we are not getting electricity for free. We are paying our bills. What we do need is the infrastructure, which Eskom is not able to put up. If the private sector, if people like yourself and I are able to buy their own solar panels and put power stations in their own backyards on the roof, and indeed you can have another round of renewable energy. There's absolutely no reason why we should not be having that.
Considering that the IRP, for instance, speaks about an additional 2,000, just over 2,000 megawatts of generation capacity that needs to be installed, yet here you have a meeting that took place between the president, the deputy president, 2 ministers, as well as the management of Eskom, and then they come back and the report back says that actually it is 5,000 that is needed. Does this mean that there's a disconnect between what Eskom has and the information that Eskom has and the information that has been provided to Cabinet, which found its way into this IRP?
There are 2 things, Aldrin. The first is that Eskom says out of its installed capacity now of 47,000 megawatts, it only has available to supply electricity on any given day 30,000 megawatts. Against so what they then need, the pressure there is that they are not able to service their power stations properly, and as you know, about 80% of Eskom's power stations have reached the end of their lifespan, or are very close there. They are 40 years old and above. They need to be decommissioned. Now imagine that car that you have been driving since 1965. If you're still driving it today, you'll have a lot of problems, of maintenance problems. It needs long breaks in between and needs proper refurbishment and maintenance. Eskom is not able to do that because it does not meet demand. That is where it says if the government can supply or allow other investors to build 5,000 megawatts of capacity, we will be able to take off these old power stations and service them properly. Give them a deep, long service, a proper maintenance. It's not able to do that now. The 2,400 megawatts you are talking about in the IRP, that is what will come after 2021, additional capacity. We've got the 4th round coming, those that were licensed in the 4th round of IPPs delivering power starting next year.
Just quickly, in the piece that you wrote in the Daily Maverick, where you referred to the president being surprised and shocked, as he said, that while en route to Egypt, the last paragraph, you say that in December 2020, Ramaphosa, if he will still be president, will again be addressing the country to apologize about yet another bout of costly load shedding. Do you think that the president finds himself in a very difficult spot, that by 2020 December, we may not have Cyril Ramaphosa as the president of the country?
You're focusing on the wrong thing. We're talking about energy.
Yeah, we're speaking about energy, but you wrote it in your piece, which speaks about energy, which also speaks about the role of the president. So I'm asking you, do you think by 2020 December, the possibility is that Cyril Ramaphosa would not be the president of the Republic of South Africa?
Here is the matter we are addressing. Eskom has been saying year in, year out, every December it's been having rolling blackouts, apologizing year in, year out. I am saying, Cyril Ramaphosa, come December 2020, if they do not build these 5,000 megawatts now, if the government does not license independent power producers or whoever else wants to build infrastructure, in 2020, the president in December, as the minister did in 2008, and as they're doing now in 2018, and as they're doing now in 2019, they will come again in 2020 and in 2021 and in 2022 in December to apologize yet again for load shedding. That is the gist of my story there.
Well, if you insist that that's the gist of your story, it's okay. But in the piece, you do say if he will still be president by December 2020. Tshepiso?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I say so. You know that politics in this country change quite a lot. Yes, of course, we know the term of the president has got another 4 years to go. But the point of the matter is politics is a contested terrain, and you can see the politics in the ANC, which is why the government was not able to come out yesterday and say, we are investing, we want 5,000 megawatts of infrastructure. We are inviting municipalities. We're inviting the private sector. We're inviting anyone who can build power stations in the shortest possible time to contact us. That's what they should have said yesterday. The meeting they are having tomorrow in cabinet should come out clearly and say, we want 5,000 megawatts of power, where companies will generate their own electricity and sell access to the national grid. I'm saying that does not happen.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time. Let's throw over to Tshepiso before we run.